Welcome to Oakys Garage. Here we got a real classic for you here today. Not Snoopy, the bike. This is a 1982 XZ550RJ. They made an 83 that was an RK model that had a fairing on the front. But this is kind of the naked bike. One of the first water-cooled engines. The engine was actually designed by Cosworth, and the final drive, the shaft drive, was designed by Porsche, and the rest of it was, the whole thing was styled or designed by GK Designs. So there was quite a few people who had their hand in making this bike. This is a buddy of mine's bike, and he's had it for a long time, since I think it was new or pretty darn close to new. And so I ended up, I've been trying to help him keep this thing running for years. And we've had carb problems, which these are known for that. We rebuilt the petcock. We put plugs in it. We tried plug caps, the spark plug caps. Nothing seemed to help it. What happened would it would get hot, and then it didn't want to start. So I ended up buying the thing off him. And just to kind of end this whole thing, I'm just sick of trying to keep this thing running for him. And it's got 33,555 miles on it. So I mean, it's got a lot of miles, a lot of use on it. He's got a lot of enjoyment out of it. So So I was going to end up just taking it apart and putting it on eBay and just selling the thing as parts. And I figure I'd probably get like $2,500, maybe $2,800 for the thing in pieces. And then I wouldn't have to worry about it ever again, about it running and all that. But I really, in good conscience, couldn't sell the thing with the engine not running correctly and not really knowing what was wrong with it. And so what I ended up doing is a valve adjustment on it. And that is, you end up taking these valve covers off, and you got to obviously take the tank all off and all this stuff, and there's a bunch of braces that have to come off and get out of the way, and lines that have to be taken off, and you end up getting in there. and this is how you adjust the thing. You take this little tool, and that you put that in on the cam, and you can see it's shaped. It's got a little indentation in the middle of it, and then two little shoulders. And you end up taking that and putting it in there and turn the engine over. It's a two-man job, and a buddy of mine helped me do it. And so you put that in there, and you turn the engine over and turns the cam, and it ends up pushing down the caps. It's like a shim and bucket setup, but not like the newer ones where the shim is underneath the bucket. So you're shoving the valve cap down, or the bucket, whatever you want to call it, and then you fish out these shims. I just happened to find a set of these at a Yamaha shop that's been around forever, and so they were all mixed up, and I brought them home, and I organized the whole thing. And so each one of these shims, if it says it's like a 280, it means it's 2 millimeters, 0.80, so it's 2.80 millimeters thick. So you take all your measurements, and you you figure out what shim is supposed to go in there to give it the right clearance. So when I did go in there and check on the clearances and stuff, I found that they were wrong, and they were all too tight. And so it shows you in the book here. You got to be careful with this book because there is a misprint in here. In the it tells you exactly what shim to use, and they call them pads, but it's a shim, and it shows you that tool and how that all works and stuff in the manual. And so I measured them all and took all the measurements, and they're all like half of what they should be as far as the clearance in there. So I figure that what was happening with this thing is that when it got hot, there was no more clearance, and it wouldn't start because the valves weren't closing all the way. So we got this shim kit, and we did the valves on it, and it took two of us. It was really a two-man job, one to turn the engine over and make sure that little tool was sitting there right, and sometimes it didn't, and you had to push it over a little bit and make sure it wasn't hanging up somewhere, and you get all the shims out, and it took a few hours, quite a few, and we got it all done, and now it runs fine, hot and cold. So I started, I buffed it all out. It's got a nice fork brace on it, aftermarket fork brace, because these did have a little bit of a front end problem with getting a little shaky in the front end. So now the only thing, I've got everything fixed on this except the steering stem bearings, and you can feel it. They want to. It wants to stay in the middle. These are ball bearings in this front end, and so there's a kit they sell replacement ones, a tapered bearing, and that'll get rid of that whole thing. So I'm going to tear this whole front end apart, and I'll come back to you hopefully with a video on doing the forks and stuff. I think when I got the forks all apart, and the whole front end's going to have to come apart. And I'm going to clean all this up. As you can see, I did like this cap here. I already took that off and sanded it all down and taped off all the letters, and then primed and painted and clear coated it so it looks like brand new. And I'm going to do that. So the rest of it's got a bunch of corrosion all around the throttle housing and stuff, and I'm going to do that. It's got a place where this key is like worn in to this upper clamp here. So while I got everything apart, I'm going to take that all down and sandblast that all down and paint that all black again, make all the controls look new again. And that'll just about complete it, because I cleaned the engine. It was all corroded and stuff, and so I cleaned that all, just a wire brushed it. That's about all I could really do. Buffed out all these, any kind of aluminum that's around here. So we're probably gonna, once I got the front end all apart, I'll probably sand down the forks. Throw some fork seals in it and some little bit heavier oil than would stock, and buff out the forks and make those look all showy, chromy looking. Do the front caliper and sandblast that down and paint it up nice and black and make it look cool again. But just figured I'd show you this. They're very rare bikes these days, especially to get one that's running correctly, because they are prone to a lot of problems. We just did the stator a little while ago, which most everybody who had one of these has done the stator. The bolts had actually backed out of it and it fell apart and wrecked itself. So a buddy of mine's got the same one who helped me with the valves. He had a spare engine, so we ended up taking the stator out of that and using that. But anyway, just figured I'd show you that, and that's your XZ550. Bye.